All righty. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm sorry if you hear a little toddler in the background. That's my grandson. He just got home and he's knocking on the door fervently, wanting to say hi. So you're in for a very special experience tonight as we explore the power of story and a force for connection. Sharon Phillips, will you please do the honor of introducing our facilitator?
Oh, absolutely. It is my pleasure. Hello, everyone. For those of you I don't know, I am Sharon Phillips, and I was a 2017 Better You participant. Can't believe it was that long ago. It's my great pleasure to introduce Kat Koppett tonight. She is the president and founder of Koppett and Mopco Improv Theater. And it's such a pleasure for me because I am a longtime fan of Kat, and she knows that. She and her team allowed me to be a student of her training events that are really designed to help participants be more aware and show up in different ways and really understand the impact that how you show up has on your personal and your professional life. But Koppett does so much more. They specialize in organizational development concepts. And the best thing about this is blend all of that training with the principles of improv and storytelling. And I also want to boast she's also an author of a book called Training to Imagine. So we are very lucky to have such an unbelievable person in our capital region. And you are in for a very inspiring evening. And I think we can all agree that there's probably not more perfect timing to use the strategies that Kat's going to teach us tonight on really how humor hugs our heart. And I know we could all use some more hugs right now. So welcome, Kat. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. And I'm delighted to be here. And now I'm going to bring down the expectations a little bit and maybe bring down the any fear that was put into your hearts when you heard the word improvisation too, I hope. In the fall, I'm thinking about, I was way back in my distant past, I was in a theater company with Aaron Sorkin, who some of you may know that name. He was the creator of West Wing and some other things. And I remember him saying, never say a joke is really funny unless it's really funny. So I always get a little scared when I get intros like that there's no way we're going to be able to meet that bar. The good news for us today is really, I think, the goal for the next 54 minutes or so is not that you're learning a whole bunch of new skills or that we're transforming your lives in some kind of performance-based way where you have to go back to the job and we have to measure your success in some concrete way. I think that our goal for the next bit of time is that we have a good time and that we feel a little more connected to each other. Is that what you're here for? Good, I'm seeing some thumbs up. And now let me say that I don't think that's not profound. I think it is, especially in times like this where we are physically distanced from each other. Sometimes we can feel a little bit disconnected in other ways as well. So what I'm hoping is that we can learn a little bit about how physical distance doesn't have to mean that we feel emotionally and psychologically distant from each other, and how we can use one of the tools that we use a lot, which is story, to feel connected to each other, and how that's really not any different from how life was before these weird times, right? We could feel disconnected from each other in real times, even if we're sitting right next to each other on a couch or in a restaurant. So to get us started, let's get to know each other a little bit and see who's here. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you would put yourself on gallery view, I think most of you are probably familiar with this space, but for anyone who's not, if you just go up to the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a little thing that says view with a little grid next to it. And if you click on it, it will say gallery, and you should get a whole bunch of squares. If you're in a position to turn on your camera tonight, that this will be a little bit more fun for you. If you're not, that is certainly fine. No pressure, but we're going to do a little bit of a game where we're going to be showing our faces. And here's how this will work. I would love you to turn on your camera and then put something over your camera so that you can reveal yourself like this. So I have a little Post-it note here that will work. You know what? I like the Post-it note just because it kind of makes a pretty color, but you can also use a digit like a thumb or anything else that you think of. If you don't want to turn on your camera, but you still want to play, then the way you can reveal yourself is with a little reaction. So you can put a thumbs up like that, and we will see it, and you can play right along with us. All right. So, those are the logistics that you need to know. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to all start covering our cameras except for one person, in this case me, who is going to share something that is true about yourself. So I might say, what's true about me is that I have furry companions who've been working with me here in my house for the last year, right? I have dogs or whatever. And if that is also true of you, you're going to remove the covering from your camera and just wave hello and say hello to everybody. And I get to see who else has dogs. Great. And then I'll cover up again and I'll do another one. And at some point, I'll do the first couple just so we get used to it. And then at some point, I'm going to call on someone else and that person will continue the game from there, calling out the next thing, and then they'll call on the next person and they'll call on the next person. There are no rules about what you can share except that it has to be true of you. Anything's game, anything that you feel like sharing, that you want to see who else is game. All right. What questions do you have about what we're doing before we start? All right. All right, so here we go. So we're going to cover our cameras. All right. And I will say, what's true about me is there's some, here's what's true about me. My house is a lot neater now than it was a year ago. All right, then we're going to cover up again. I'll do one more and then I'll pass it to someone. What's true about me is I think if I'll cover. I think if I had to live on pizza, I could do it. Very nice. All right. Christian, I saw a really enthusiastic wave for pizza, so why don't you unmute yourself and go next?
I am pregnant, and the only thing I want is pizza.
That was my pizza food too. That's so funny.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean your pregnant food?
My pregnant food. Yeah.
Amy, are you pregnant too? Eleanor, are you pregnant?
I am not.
Okay.
I didn't think I would see any faces for that one.
No, you didn't. Okay, let's cover up again. I think let's cover up again to give us another one.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I am feeling both surprised by some of my friends and family who have come out of the woodwork to love and nurture and hold me and others during this time. And I have been also extremely surprised where others have disappeared and not been there at all.
Great. Who do you want to hear from next, Christian?
Oh, Alexis.
Great. So we'll cover up our cameras except for Alexis, and she'll go next.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I am finding as I get older, my circle of friends remains quite small, and I tend to like it that way.
Mhm. Yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Alexis. Who do you want to hear from next?
How about Pamela?
Great. So we'll cover up our cameras and Pamela will.
Okay,
Next one.
mine's not going to be so prolific. I'm going to say that I may have a glass of wine next to me at the table because it's after 6 o'clock.
Nice.
Love that one, Pam.
Excellent. Great, Pam.
I was either going to say that or that I'm wearing pajama pants underneath this sweater.
Oh, that would have been a good one. Excellent. Let's do one more, Pam. Who do you want to hear from?
Oh, Anna.
You're cheating. I don't have a glass of wine by me. That would be inappropriate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that the rule? It had to be somebody I was
It
saying,
doesn't
I'm
have
sorry.
to be. It's fine. Let's hear
It's
from
fine.
Anna.
I'm ready. Luckily, I'm prepared. All right. Mine's not going to be too deep either. My truth is that I have been watching way too much Netflix recently.
Absolutely. No question.
Am I right?
All right. And we have lots of thumbs up too. Thank you for playing along. Thumbs up, people. Give yourself a wild round of applause. We could certainly, I feel like we could play this for the next hour. But you called on Anna, and it's time for us to hear from her. Before I hand it over to her, just give me a couple of little comments about how it was to do this with each other. How were you feeling? What did you notice? There's no right answer.
I was so excited to hear what other people were feeling, like what was speaking to their heart at the time, and interested to see what our connections might be.
Yeah. That was exciting to hear what people offered. It was fun to see connections. Anything else?
Well, this is Ellie. I know
Yeah.
I came in late, but I was pretty happy to say I'm not pregnant.
Nice. Funny. Excellent. It was nice to know what we had in common and also some things we didn't have in common.
Most of my friends would agree.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you for that warm up. I think I really feel like I could play this for hours with folks, and I invite you to, take it wherever you are and start your meetings this way. I think it's just nice to remember that on this very, very simple level, how many ways that we are not alone, that we are not having experiences that are, even if we're having them in solitary ways, that other people are sort of in parallel having our same experiences. So like they're drinking alone in their own spaces right along with us, or something else. All right, well, I think many of you know Anna, and if you don't, you're in for a treat. She is a heart transplant recipient and a public speaker and an activist, and we thought for today, when we're talking about the power of story and connection through story, there was no better person to have join us. So hi, Anna. We're delighted to have you here to share your story with us. Please.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that was such a fun game. I'm so grateful to be here with you guys tonight. I know that a lot of us can be feeling, Zoom fatigue a lot these days. I'm a student, so I certainly feel that way. So it's wonderful to take a minute and play a little game, and great to see all of your faces. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can we see that? I think we can. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. So I was actually 13 years old when I first spoke at an event for the American Heart Association. I was the keynote speaker for a Go Red Luncheon in the Woodlands, Texas. Back then, I was a skinny little kid in heart failure, waiting for a heart transplant. Now here I am. That's me and my mom. Now, since then, I've spoken dozens of times all around the country. And it's really cool for me because every time it sort of marks milestones for me on this road that I've been on now for 9 years. When I spoke that first time, the focus of my talk was the optimism and humor that my family was using to get through my ordeal. And that's the focus of what 21-year-old me wants to share with y'all tonight. So now I'm a junior in college studying graphic design. And looking back, the first design that I ever created was actually a logo for the Facebook page and website that my mom started for me. We had just moved to Texas from New York State when I was unexpectedly diagnosed with an advanced stage of dilated cardiomyopathy, and my parents were told that I would need a heart transplant. We lived away from many of our family and friends, so she started this page to keep them updated. We named the page Humor Heals the Heart, the Anna King Project, and I wanted a heart with a crown and a smiley face. One of my mom's friends made this for us. She's actually on this call tonight. Hi, Amy Gorick, a wonderful graphic designer, and she's now my mentor as I'm a student studying design myself. Amy created this logo, and we did our own little branding. All right, so as a 12-year-old, I remember being worried about my diagnosis, but ultimately I had an innate optimism that made me believe I would be all right. We were only a couple of weeks in when I made up a parody, being silly about having heart disease, and it made my parents laugh, so I kept it up. My mom posted those, and people were taken with them and started following my story. Humor Heals the Heart gave us a purpose and a reason to continue to focus on all of the positives that we had in our lives, including our senses of humor. The page sort of organically took on this optimistic tone where my mom posted almost every update with a positive spin. When I sang a parody of Adele, it ended up getting us on national news, and it was obvious that people were drawn to my story, not just because I was a cute 12-year-old waiting for a heart transplant, but because they were drawn to the message that if we could stay positive and laugh in spite of my heart failure, then surely they could do the same with whatever trial they had in their own lives. Our situations may be different, but optimism and humor are universal. I was placed on the transplant waiting list just a few weeks after my diagnosis. I stopped all strenuous activities, started a regimen of medicines, and began my life as an eternal germaphobe. For the record, I was obsessed with hand sanitizer way before y'all had to be obsessed with hand sanitizer. Now, we were told that a heart could come any day. There was no way of knowing. And people would always ask us, where are you on the list? Or what number are you? But that's not the way it works. There are just so many factors that go into finding a match for organ donation. You just need to practice patience, keep the faith, and wait. In the words of the late Tom Petty, the waiting is the hardest part. And if someone had told us back then that we would wait 832 days for my transplant, we probably would have been pretty dejected. But we didn't know that, so we just took it every day at a time and tried to focus on the good. During the 2.5 years that I waited, I had lots to be grateful for. First, many people don't know they have a heart condition like this until it's too late. I had played in a volleyball tournament the week before my diagnosis. I didn't feel good, but we thought I had a virus. These are the kinds of stories you see on the news, where an athlete drops on the basketball court or soccer field. So I was very lucky to have been diagnosed before the unthinkable happened. Second, I was surrounded by people who loved me, and my family created a good balance of treating me like a normal kid, aka sending me to my room when I was a mouthy teen, but also spoiling me with sick kid perks. I had to do school at home, like unfortunately lots of kids are dealing with right now, but my math teacher came and tutored me 2 days a week. I tried golf because it was a sport that my doctors approved of, and an awesome golf coach offered me free weekly lessons. I learned how to play the guitar. I was already an avid reader, thank goodness, so I read hundreds of books. And like I mentioned before, I was still watching a lot of Netflix during that time. Really not that much has changed. I even got to go on a Make-A-Wish trip to meet the cast of my favorite TV show, Psych. We were talking about West Wing earlier. Dule Hill, Charlie, am I right? Love him. So like I said, there were a lot of perks. My spot on the news got me some attention that turned into that first keynote for the American Heart Association. And soon I was involved with several organizations as I became an accidental advocate for heart health, organ donation, and the power of optimism. I spoke at a local elementary school assembly of 400 to a convention of 4,000 pharmaceutical employees in Las Vegas. My new job kept me pretty busy. And it was a constant reminder to look for funny moments, share the fun parts of life, and keep looking up during the trying ones. Now, I told you that my optimism was innate at 12 years old. Well, during my wait, I turned 13 and then 14. So there were some grumpy days mixed in there, believe me. I was a funny kid, but still a normal one. But on those days, I could rely on my family to keep me upbeat, or sometimes to just give me permission to pout, which is okay too. In the summer of 2014, I started having some funky heartbeats. So my doctor scheduled me to have an internal defibrillator, or an ICD, implanted. I was not looking forward to this, and I remember it being one of the times that I really dreaded most. We went in for my scheduled procedure, and it was delayed because there wasn't a bed available for me. Now I can tell you, and she's on that call, that my mom, she's on this call, that my mom was not an example of humor and optimism that morning. Sorry, Mom. We ended up waiting several hours, and when they finally got me prepped and ready to go, we had another wait. Just when my mom was ready to lose it, my transplant nurse came in and told me that it turned out I wasn't going to get my ICD that day, but I was going to get a new heart instead. We had made it. It was day 832. Now, some of those days had been tearful, but most were full of smiles and laughter. And thanks to my organ donor, I was getting my second chance. My donor dad, Steve, made the decision in the saddest moment of his life to donate his daughter's organs. Her heart would go to a 14-year-old girl near Houston, and that girl was me. And thanks to the arrangements that were made by the American Heart Association, I've been blessed to know Steve. I'm sure some of you even remember, some of you from the Capital Region even remember that day when I met Steve for the first time. I think it's not a coincidence that Steve also has a great sense of humor, and our families became fast friends. A little sidebar, that was, I think, the first time Steve ever wore a tie. So he wasn't too thrilled about that. Just a little note, but he did it for the American Heart Association and for us. There is no greater gift that you can give someone than life. And I can never repay Steve for the gift that he gave me through organ donation. But I can celebrate and honor Clarissa by living my life well. And hopefully watching me do that will be a small gift back to him. So it sounds like the end of a great story, right? I get my heart transplant and live happily ever after. And mostly, I had a relatively smooth transplant experience, and I've been lucky to experience only minor hurdles since then in terms of my health. I've been lucky on that front. My healthy heart has given me the opportunity to have so many adventures in the past 6 years. I got to have 3 years of real life in high school and graduate in 2018, and I realized my dreams of going to college in Boston. I was even able to study abroad last winter for an amazing 11 weeks in London before COVID sent me home. So an organ donor literally gave me the world. And as I said before, during those teenage years, as I turned 15 and 16, 17, 18, I'm sure you can all look back on those years and remember having all sorts of feelings. Now, there were days in high school when I would feel negative, have friend problems, frustrations with life, disappointments, the normal roller coaster of life as a typical teenage girl. Except I wasn't normal. I was Anna King, the funny young optimist, the one everyone had rooted for, and one that so many still followed on social media. On days like those, I had the added feelings of guilt that I wasn't the person that people thought I was. I felt that I would disappoint people if they knew. Now, as I said earlier, I had an innate optimism as a 12-year-old. But as I grew up, I learned that while it might not come as easily as it did when I was a kid, that optimism is not a state of being, it's a practice. Choosing to look at life and its obstacles through a lens of positivity and humor is just that, a choice. Now, I know it sounds cliche, but it's very true that when we consciously choose to look at a situation from a place of gratitude, it flips things for us. This past year has been the perfect example. Talk about an obstacle. Here's one that has affected literally every person on the planet. A global pandemic can certainly ruin your day. For some, the losses have been immeasurable. Those who have become very ill or lost family members. For some, it's the piling up of one loss or disappointment on top of the next, which can be overwhelming. It's all very real and totally normal to get down over it. But what you can't do is stay down. It's all in the perspective. A year ago, I was living my best life, touring art museums in London and traveling to Paris and Scotland and Ireland. And now I'm sitting in a dorm room doing my classes and speaking engagements on Zoom. That can be depressing. This is not how college is supposed to be. This isn't how life is supposed to be. I have a sister, Lila, who's a senior in high school, class of 2021. No sports, no clubs, no dances. This wasn't how her high school career was supposed to go. My grandma is 75 and couldn't spend the holidays with any of her family. That isn't how her life is supposed to go. We could all be depressed. If we focused on what's missing, it's a real downer. And that's where that choice comes in. And we all have it. We have a choice to focus on what's missing or focus on what we have. We all have that choice. Now, that does not mean that we're dancing through life happy all the time, but it does mean that we won't stay down for long. This keeps our down days from turning into down weeks and down months. This keeps our bodies and minds healthy rather than being taxed by stress and worry. This choice can literally improve our health. Instead of focusing on the 7 weeks that I missed in my study abroad program, I am grateful for the amazing 11 weeks I did have. Instead of pouting about my lonely dorm life, we laugh about the parties I go to with my friends on Animal Crossing. Do you guys know Animal Crossing? This is me and my college friends, hot night out on the town in our individual dorms. We laugh about the horrible Zoom dates I have on Bumble. There's lots to talk about. This pandemic has turned everyone's life upside down. The toll it's taking on people is a big one. And I'm guessing that other families who have been through health crises like mine have been better able to navigate this new normal. When we go through challenges, we come out smarter and stronger and better equipped for the next one. I'm hoping that that's something that a lot of people will gain from our current situation. Now, I don't know what the future holds for me. A heart transplant is not a cure. And for many reasons, transplanted hearts do not last a lifetime. And it's likely that this is something I will have to face again at some point. I certainly don't want to wake up every morning and think about that. The fact is that none of us know what life will bring. Hello, 2020. This life is unpredictable and it is not easy, that's for sure. And something tells me it's not going to get easier. So the best thing that we can do for our own health and our own happiness is to focus on what we can control, laugh when we can, and make the choice to practice optimism over and over again. Thank you guys so much.
Yay. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much.
Wow, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so there's so much that I'm sure everybody wants to share and unpack about that amazing, beautiful story. So that's what we're going to give you a chance to do. Sharon, do you want to make me the host so I can help with this? We're going to give you a chance to get into some breakout rooms and just chat a little bit. And there's 2 questions that we'd like you can talk about whatever you want, but we're going to offer you two questions. One is, what was resonant about that story for you? Just what came up for you listening to that story? And then the other is to sort of explore storytelling in general and think about what made that such a compelling story? What makes Anna such a great storyteller? And what can we learn about the power of story from listening? So what did you take away from the story? And why was that such a compelling story itself? And here we go. Let's see. I will recreate those because great. Let me see. Great. Just give me one moment. Here we go. All right, and you might get a little invitation. You'll just have to click on it. We'll be in our rooms for, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. All right, here we go. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How are those conversations?
Great. This is our whole group right here. It's funny. We all took the button rather than having it bump us out.
You were done, huh?
Yeah. We had a
Yeah.
Good. Anything you want to share while we wait for other people to come back?
I think one of the topics that we ended on anyway was the beauty of her optimism, and you know, kind of how we relate back to how it looks like it might be hard or work to be optimistic in that type of setting, and how we can learn from that and we can grow from that example.
It's nice to have one of the nice things about, one of the things that story can do for us, right, is having a model of, like, seeing it be possible is something that is something that can give us not only hope, but a sense of a path, right, and a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Anything that anybody else wants to share about, I'm looking up a podcast that I went with. I'll do it in a minute. What else? Tell me about your conversations. What did you discover? What themes came up for you? What insights? What do you want to share? Either back for Anna herself, or about her story, or about story in general.
It's a quiet group. Everybody's saying, who's going to be the first one?
Quiet is fine. You know, it's funny. One of the funny. Yeah.
There's
Amy,
Amy.
go ahead.
I'll be the first one.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
I guess it was just for me, like many things that Anna said and what she's been through and what her family has been through resonate with me and inspire me. But I think the thing that kind of brought it down to earth too was just the practicing it. And it's not always easy to be positive. And, you know, it's just something that you have to practice like anything else to get better at it, to get more comfortable, and to know that it's there, feeling positive as a practice and knowing that that's always there.
Yeah, lovely. Which is literally true, right? We know this, right? That our brains are, you know, neuroplasticity, right? The grooves in our brain, the ways that we think are the ways that our neurons make connections with each other. And so as we practice looking for positivity, if we practice being grateful for things, then our brains rewired that way. And what I also just loved about how you told your story, Anna, just in terms of content, is to acknowledge that that doesn't mean you have to be happy every day, right? It doesn't mean that life is just always rosy. That would be obnoxious, among other things, right? I'm sure your friends and family were very happy that you weren't. We're very grateful that you weren't just like always happy all the time, because you're a whole three-dimensional person. Good. Anything else about, any other insights about the power of, hello, Kara. Hello, little one. About the power of story itself and what it was like to hear that story.
I'll just jump in real quickly and, Penny and Tracy and Julie, feel free to add anything in, but what we really took away from it too in conversation was the ability to continue to share out the story. So what we have learned and been inspired by, we are able to share it with other people and pass on the goodness and the knowledge and, the ability to feel good because of Anna.
I love it. That it becomes this object, if you will, that you get to then keep giving. That it gets to be passed forward, paid forward, not just, and you have other people's stories that you can share, not just your own, and we just all get richer from it. Great. All right, so in our last bit of time, this is a game that I'm going to offer to you to take away with you as a game, and also we get to play here together. And here's how it goes. So I'm going to have some, if you would like to play this story sharing game with me, and we're going to tell like mini stories, 30-second stories, a minute long story, right? Keep your camera on and you'll be part of our storytelling circle, right? And this is how it's going to go. We're going to make an order right now of those of us with our cameras on. So I'm just going to give you a number based on where you are on my screen, all right? So that we have a sort of passing order. So Rebecca, you're going to be number 1. Christiane, you're going to be number 2. Alexis, you're number 3. Sharon Phillips, you're number 4. Pamela, number 5. Anna, you're number 6. Amy Gorick, you're number 7. Dawn, number 8. Sharon Horton, number 9. Penny, number 10. Kara, is it Kara or Kara? Oh, you're reading.
Kara.
Kara.
It's Kara. Yep.
You're number 11. Am I counting right? You're number 11. Is that right? Did I get it right? And I will be number 12. All right. So I'm going to say we're going to just do a word association. So I'm going to say, you know what? Can we just put our numbers in so rename yourself with your number so everybody knows what your number is. Does everybody know how to do that? Yeah, if you go up to the top of your little square, there are 3 little dots and you should get a menu and it will say rename. You can just type in front of your name. You can put this is also a Zoom lesson. I throw a Zoom lesson. There you go. Just so you can remember your number and people know who they're giving to. All right. So I'll start and I'm passing to Rebecca. I'm just going to say a word. Then Rebecca, you're going to say a word, any word that you associate with my word. We're just going to keep going around in a circle doing word association. There is no right answer. Whatever word comes to mind. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else in the circle. So if you said squirrel, I could say muffin, right? You don't have to know what the link between squirrel and muffin is, as long as it makes sense in my head. It's just whatever word. At any point, as we're doing that, someone can say, tell that story. And you're going to tell a little 30-second story about whatever your association was. So if you said squirrel and I said muffin, I would say, well, I remember at camp once, I went to this summer camp and we went out camping and there was this squirrel who was really friendly and he was so bold because everybody kept feeding him. And I remember that once I fed him a bit of my muffin, right? Doesn't have to be a good story, right? Doesn't have to be a big story. I'm just telling you the story of my word, right? And then the next person in the circle would start off with one word that they associate from my story. So you might say camp or whatever, and we'll keep going until someone says, tell that story. We can say, tell that story whenever there's something that makes us feel like we want to hear a story. Okay, got it? We'll play for 9 minutes or 8 minutes and then 1 minute to say goodbye. Okay, all right. So I'll start and I'm throwing it to Rebecca. Ready? Everybody unmute now so you don't have to worry about it later. Okay. Becca, your word is pencil.
Paper.
Rock.
Mountain.
Trees.
Tell the
What did
story.
you say, Sharon? Sorry. What was your word, Sharon?
Trees.
Trees. Sorry. Gotcha.
And I think Pamela said, tell that story.
Tell that story.
Yeah.
My family absolutely loves the Adirondacks, and it doesn't seem to matter whether it's winter, spring, summer, or fall. Those mountains are absolutely glorious, and we can't get enough of them.
There you go. All right. Pick up a word from there, Pamela, and keep going.
Sky.
Clouds.
Amy, it was my turn.
Oh,
You just got scolded.
I can't count.
That's okay. I'm trying to think of something. Okay, cloud. Tell that story.
There you go.
Me?
Yep,
Yeah.
Amy, tell the story about the clouds.
I was daydreaming about the sky and the clouds, and I forgot how to count.
There you go. Great. Take a word from there.
Kindergarten.
So I go.
Let's go to 8 and then we'll keep going.
Oh, home.
Chaos.
You, Penny. Chaos.
So my life is chaos because my kid likes to play rock, paper, and pencils on the mountain where it's a very full sky, lots of trees and clouds. How about that?
Whoa, that's a whole story. Great. Beautiful. Kara, take a word from there and keep us going.
Holy moly.
Storytelling.
Campfire.
Mm.
Rebecca. You're muted.
Fire. My son. That's 2 words. Family.
Daughter.
Tell that story, Christiane.
I'm having a daughter.
Yes. Congratulations.
I'm a single mother by choice. I have a sperm donor, and this has been my biggest dream for my entire life. And I'm having a daughter, and her name is Grace.
All right.
Yes.
I think that's where you have to stop. Give yourselves a round of applause. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. So talk to me a little bit about playing that game. Those of you who are watching can chime in too. How was it to play? How was it to watch? What did you discover?
I almost wanted to say tell that story to everybody because it's so interesting to see how their brains work. And I was
Right.
I was interested in every single person's response.
I love that. I love that we think, here's the secret about storytelling. We think that storytelling is a special skill. We think that good storytellers are some aberrant, special, talented group of people, but that's not true. We are all great storytellers. What storytelling is this core activity that our brains do all the time. It's how we make sense of the world. Right? And I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that. Like that really is like what is happening inside our brains. When we receive information from the outside world, our brains go like, okay, how does that data come into being in our heads? And what Anna's been talking to us about is what kinds of stories do we want to make up in our heads? We have the same information, right? This data comes in, and then we decide what is the meaning that we're making out of that. That's just storytelling. So when we recognize that we have this superpower, which is to make meaning, right? To make sense out of the world, and we trust that in ourselves, we can do all sorts of things. We can connect with other people. We can share our experiences, as you were saying, Sharon. We can create our experience of our own lives in ways that are meaningful and fulfilling and hopeful for ourselves, and do all of these wonderful things. And we are fascinating to ourselves and to other people. So thank you for playing with me. And thank you for all the work you're doing in the world. And I wish you all lots of connection. And it takes so little to, you know, hear one word or one moment or see one flash of something on someone's face, and then to just say, tell me that story, ask about it, and look at what incredible things you might hear, like we just heard from Christian and others. So thank you all.
I think we should play this game at our next gallant or gal night. What do you call it? Girls' night in, Christian.
Yes, yes.
Association. That would be a hoot with wine.
We would go downhill
sure.
real fast with that group.
Anna, thank you for always inspiring us. You are just amazing. You're an amazing young woman, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Kat, thank you so much for reminding us that our stories too are powerful. And thank you all for being on this call tonight. We just appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time. I hope that this inspired you and lifted you up just a little bit. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank
Very
you.
good time.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for sharing,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Nice to meet all of you.
Yes, you too.
Everyone be
Bye.
well. Take care.
Be well, everyone.